Hashtag You're It. I'm Amanda Malcolm, and you're listening to You're It Girl, a podcast focused on you and what propels you. Because that past, it does not define you. Your time is now, and you're it, girl. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to You're It Girl. I'm your host, Amanda Malcolm, and today we have one of my favorite people. She goes by Kristen Petronio, KP, and what I like to call her, Bombshell, because she looks like a bombshell. Whenever we exchange text conversation, my first initial shout out to her is always, "Hey, Bombshell, what's going on?" So what's going on, Bombshell?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little bit about you.
I was originally born in New York. We moved to Minnesota, then to Arizona, and that was in high school. So I've been in Arizona since 1986.
Gosh, I didn't know you've been here that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Long
been here for
time.
a
I
while.
pretty much should just say I'm from here by now.
Yeah, you're now you're a native.
Yes. I went into real estate. I went to the mortgage end of it first, and then for 14 years, and then ended up in real estate for the last 18 years. I love being outdoors. I've stayed in Arizona pretty much the whole time, just because I love the weather here.
Yeah.
I love it here.
And that's how we met through real estate. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I was trying to think the other day, what was our first meeting? Do you remember? Is it through Wendy? It had to have been through Wendy.
It probably was through Wendy. However,
Wendy's my business partner, by the way.
We went to something real estate. It was one of the real estate parties that we went to.
A real estate broker opener party or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The one and only.
Oh, it was the one and only party. Yeah, that's right.
We hung
Okay.
out.
All right. I remember now.
Yeah.
So you and I have had lots of conversations over the years about many different things, usually kind of focused around, I would say, like dating, boys, healing, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But more recently, since I released the podcast, shortly afterwards, you had something kind of big happen in your life. And so today, what we're going to talk about is grief, overcoming grief, and just kind of turning a negative into a positive and overcoming kind of big things. So I know this is going to be a heavy topic. So tell us just what recently happened in your life that has made this tremendous impact on where you are right now.
I'd say it's heavy. My mom passed away last April. She was sick. She had Alzheimer's. You don't die from Alzheimer's, but you die from, other things that were going inside her. And she's had it. She was diagnosed with this in 2020, which I pretty much knew before she even wanted to admit it. But you go through so many in Alzheimer's, you go through those stages, you lose your person, whoever has that, throughout in different stages. So it's not just all of a sudden they're gone in different stages. And I had to learn how to talk to my mom through my stepdad on the phone. I couldn't just talk to my mom anymore. It was, you would lose her ability to walk. She wasn't able to communicate, and you had to just kind of figure out what she was trying to say. I'm very intuitive. So with my mom especially, and with many people, but that intuition of what she needed was really important. And learning how to be patient was probably the first time in my life, because I'm not very patient throughout a lot of my life, but it has taught me to be more patient through that. So when I lost her last year, we all lost her last year in April, it shakes you to the core. It's your parent. But what I love to talk about is really, it's grief, overcoming adversity, and how I came over from the negative to the positive. And I've done that negative to a positive with many things in my life. Throughout my whole life, really, especially in the last 15, 20 years. But this in particular, I mean, you feel really lost, and everybody grieves different. Everybody goes through, when I talk about grief, it doesn't have to just be the death of somebody. It's the death of your marriage, your relationship, your husband, your spouse, your kid. It could be anything. It could be a boyfriend, could be anything, because everybody grieves, from something, and everybody grieves different. But the loss of a parent, for me, especially for me with my mom, it's so, it's your mom, so it's hard because they gave, not everybody, they didn't give birth, but I mean, it's still, it's a mother's different from a father. They're both great. But it hit me hard. It really did. And it was a loss. It's a piece that will never come back in me. But what I made the choice to do even though there were times I wanted to just take off and go to Bali and just say, F it, I want to get out of here. My therapist says, well, that's great, but the issue's still going to be there when you get back. I'm like, damn, you're
Doesn't
right.
feel like it when I'm on the beach,
I'm
though.
like, that's not what I wanted to hear.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. So I pushed through. So it was April and then through summer, and I kept telling myself, everyone kept saying, give yourself grace. And I thought, what the heck does that mean? I don't even know what that means. So I had to learn what that was. And it was allowing yourself to be, sad or grieving and go through it and walk through the process. And the process, what I realized is you realize there's a lot of people, nobody knows how to work with you on grief. Either if they've been through it, they know. And it's a club that you don't want to be in, but you are in now. Many people don't know how. So you have to remind yourself it's okay that there's people that haven't been there for you, that you thought were going to be there for you. And there's people that are there for you in ways I never knew that they were going to be there. I didn't even know who half these people were. Some of these people were until all of this happened and they were reaching out, and it became a relationship with these people that I didn't even know until this point. So I had to really just step back from everybody and everything and really let life realign. And that has taken me, it's been a year in April, and I just now am feeling really good. I still am allowing it, whatever's supposed to be between work, between my friendships, between life in general. But it's been an amazing journey, and I'm still going through it, but it really has. And it's opened me to realize what I want and what I don't want in life. And it's okay to step away from things that I thought were what I needed. So, but what I did is how I healed, or how I've been healing is, and you feel guilty going through it sometimes because I wasn't crying like, some people grieve and they cry every day. I wasn't. And I don't know if it's just my tough shell. I don't know what it is, but I decided, and someone said to me in the beginning that they dealt with their dad by, honoring them every day. And I thought, I like that. I actually love that. So every single thing that I do with my mom, or everything that I do each day, I honor my mom somehow, some way. And I take that and I can feel her. It's the weirdest thing. I can actually feel her guiding me. And I don't know how that is. It's pretty powerful to me. It's amazing. And I honestly, for me, the way I've gotten through it is my faith. Everybody's different though. But turning in that negative into that positive, it's actually been one of the strongest things that I've done through this, has been able to do that. And it takes sometimes such loss. Unfortunately, the loss of my mom has changed me into something that I wish I had known 10, 15 years ago, but it's okay because it's part of your journey in life.
What would you say that has changed? When you say that you wish you were 10 years ago, like what do you have now? What has this given you?
I just feel so much more at peace. I'm calmer about things. I have learned to just walk away and be okay and not chase. I chased for so many years. And I think very many of us are notorious for it. And some of us just cut it off and go. And everyone's personalities are different, but I chased. And I'm not perfect. There's still times that you catch yourself. You're like, hold on. Like, I don't need this. If this is supposed to be, it's going to be. And I've learned to let things realign or align in my life the way that it's supposed to be. Much more.
That makes
less
sense.
Stressful.
You seem much more at peace.
I really just have let go.
Yeah. Your demeanor is, you just seem more relaxed, even though we're talking about something too, like heavy like this. You do seem very relaxed within yourself.
And as sad as it is, I love my mom. And there's definitely days like the other night, I was like, oh gosh, I started, I had a good cry, but I really haven't, because I think that I'm just, this is how I'm processing it, and I'm just like, no, she wouldn't want me to be this way. She would want me to continue to live and to live life. Mm-hmm. And I know she loves it. And I can hear her saying, I'm proud of you and all of that. So it's been good. And it's brought my stepdad and I very close. You realize where that person plays a role in your life, or like she was the in-between person. for him, for me, and he and I did not have a super close relationship, but now it's the closest it's ever been. So it's nice.
Yeah, it brought that relationship closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What has been the hardest thing up to this point where you are now?
The feeling of you feel very alone sometimes when you go through this, and when you have to step back because your life has been, you've been building it up, and I'm 54, so you're building it up all these 54 years, and this is what you're used to. And then when you let a lot go, it's hard to let go. That has been the loneliest thing because you're not sure, nobody's really there for you like you think they are. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But you have to learn the new you.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it doesn't happen overnight. And I'm very much, I think, in our business and in our lives, like just who we are when you're in sales and you just want it now. A lot of people do, whether they're in sales or not. And that's part of my personality is I want it now. And it doesn't happen now. Mm-hmm. You have to allow it to happen. So allowing that to happen and stepping back has been probably the hardest thing.
I see, that makes sense. I've heard a lot of people say what you mentioned, like you think that people are going to be there for you, but they're not, or they're not able to, or you're surprised who ends up actually reaching out. And a lot of people have said that, and I've never really gone through this type of grief. I mean, I've lost grandparents, but obviously it just is very different because you almost feel as like, even though it's sad, they've lived this legacy, right?
Right.
I mean, this was their purpose, and they're in their 90s, they're almost 100. And it's like, you look back on their life and you go, we all hope we make it to there. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's so it's not quite this, I don't think it's the same as a parent, or a husband or a wife or a child or something like that. But people that I've known where we've talked about that same subject comes up where like people just don't know what to say, or the support that you expect or think is going to be there isn't. Why do you think that is?
Because they haven't gone through it themselves, and everybody deals so different with grief or whatever it is. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, everyone's just so different from with what they have. And I remember reading through it when I was going through this, and I think it's very true. People are very hard. They're scared to reach out because nobody knows what they want to, what people want to say or want to hear, because everyone's different. Right. So, like, for me, it was great when people, even if it was just a simple text or if it was something, I don't want to talk about it. Or sometimes you do want to talk about it and nobody knows what to say because everyone wants to problem solve. But it isn't about problem solving for somebody when they're going through grief. It's simply about listening.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very true statement. That's what I read once. And I was like, you know what? That's so true. You just want to talk. It's not, nobody can do anything to change it. Nothing.
Maybe that's the thing, is it makes people feel so helpless. They don't know what to say. I know everyone is different. The only reason I bring this up is because out of pure curiosity, because you were a friend that was going through this. I feel like I reached out very little. And so I'm curious, and I did feel uncomfortable. And so what would you, being in that situation, or to anyone else, hopefully this will help someone, what would you have wished or kind of hoped for someone to ask or say? Like, what would that look like that would have felt good?
What did feel good was just when, I'm thinking of you, and I've done it now. I've in return had quite a few people who have lost family, friends, whatever it may be. And it's the same thing. It's a lesson for me too, because I know before my mom, probably I wasn't the same way of how I
would respond.
Yeah. It's just like thinking of you. You don't need to respond. I just want you to know I'm thinking of you. If you need anything, let me know. I care about you. Are you okay? Depending on where you are in the stage. And the other thing that was interesting too is like, even after you have that the funeral, like the grief is still going.
Yeah.
It doesn't just stop. In fact, it probably gets more because the reality sits in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that too. They say that beginning part, that's when you get all the reach out and then the support.
You're numb too.
And then
Yeah.
After the week goes by, then that's all done. And then you're really left lost, because when you're going through that piece of it, there's a lot going on. The planning, the contacting the family members, the moving things out of the house. There's a lot of things, and it occupies your mind and your time. And then that's done.
Mm-hmm.
And then where did everybody go?
The best thing I did was one of the best things, and I've done quite a bit. And you did. I mean, my personality it just kept myself busy, but I also was trying to like figure this out. Like, where am I going? And I thought, okay, a couple of things. Like, I started with a therapist and an energy healer, really. So my energy to energy, and I've learned that through this year or two, is like, it's very important. Whoever is around me, is if the energy doesn't match for me, I'm you know me. I mean, I have a good heart. I'm not bowing out of like pushing you away, but I'll bow out and pull away. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop being there for you if you need me, if you're a friend of mine. But the energy to energy is huge. And so the energy healer was huge for me on how to let go of stuff.
Actually, I've noticed that with you. I'm really proud of you for that. And I've been sort of watching from a distance because I noticed your absence. Mm-hmm. I knew a lot of that was because of your mom, but also, in our brief little catch-ups where you had said to me a couple times, like, I just needed to pull back from some things. I needed to pull away. It's nothing against anybody or anything like that at all.
No, it's nothing personal to anybody. Not anybody. This is about me.
Which is incredible.
Because I'm very much I try to be about a lot of people. And I know that you go through phases where you just can't be. And then nobody understands what to do with that because they're so used to that person being there.
Right.
And it's not anything personal to anybody. It's just that you're trying to take care of you.
Yes.
And this has been a big thing.
That's a really big deal to be able to do that and then feel like at peace with it, like you do. And strong about it. Like strong about the decision in that. It's been
a rough couple years. And I think part of it is like everything that I touched was going to falling apart. It didn't matter what I touched. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Oh, man.
I'm like, I surrender. I'm done.
I'm freaking done with this. Let it go.
So it was good for me. I realized it's the first time in my life I've been actually able to step back and let it all go. Right. But it definitely takes some learning. And I'm still learning.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah. We're all still learning.
Yeah.
So if your mom was, you said you feel as though your mom is with you and guiding 100%. You and telling you that she's proud of you. That's really incredible. You had a really good relationship with your mom growing up?
Yeah, I had a really good relationship with my mom. My mom, my mom is a full professor. She taught at 15 different schools. Like when she passed away, over 1,000 people reached out through emails and texts. It was like unbelievable. Yeah. It was amazing. But my mom also was she's a great mother, but she and I are a lot alike. So we would definitely butt heads
as moms and daughters do, though. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, my daughter and I do too. Yeah.
So yes, but we're very, very close. And so that was something that, you miss a piece of it. She's just a piece of me is gone. Forever.
So you've been talking about this with a group of people, correct? That you connected with. How did you connect with them?
You mean through speaking?
Yeah.
I connected. This is one of the things that happened. Like I was just trying to pay attention to what was going on around me. On Instagram, I had connected with somebody who she's like a keynote speaker. She's done TED Talks, all that stuff. And I was like, oh, she seems interesting, right? So I messaged her and she said, I'm actually doing a mastermind and it's all speaking events. And so that's how I connected with her to do that.
I see. But now you've spoken on this.
I've spoken on this, yeah. I spoke once on it, and then she's this is what I would like to keep speaking on and more. I think just overcoming adversity and turning the negative into a positive for anything in your life, really. And I've done that a lot in my past, and I enjoy talking about it. I do have passion with that.
I mean, I know you well enough to know that you are a very positive person. I know that you are one. there's people that when things happen, like they stay kind of stuck in this like pessimist thing or get really trapped in that space, right? And then there's those that are overly positive. That can be me sometimes. I'm guilty of that. And then there's like the more realistic approach. But to be able to recognize this thing that's like really bringing you down and making it worse and saying, how can I look at this a different way? So that way it's actually bringing me up and I'm honoring this person that was so extraordinary. So I know you mentioned that briefly, but how did that kind of come to be?
How did what come to
how
me?
How were you able to
overcome that?
Yeah. How are you able to just recognize that and then overcome that? And then when you get into that space where you feel like, oh, it's kind of bringing me down, how do you switch it? Like, how do you turn that
Because
on?
I realize that, we have a choice, and it's sort of how I've like overcome a lot of things in my life. You have a choice. You're either going to sink or you swim. And I thought, okay, if I sink, I'm going to die. Like, what? You can't. This is my time, you know?
This is not your time.
No, I got a lot of living to do. And I just got to live.
You got Bali to go to.
You know? And so, yeah, every time, even we all have days, that we are down, but I just learned to put myself out there in different spheres of people, surround myself with what I love to do. And I didn't really know some of it as recreating yourself. And I didn't know necessarily what I really loved. It's recreating just my people around me. I've recreated everything really from top to bottom, from inside out, actually. So I don't know if I really answered the question.
No, that answers the question. And if anyone is going through this now or in this stage, what advice or encouragement would you give?
Some people will tell you to join groups or to find, but I really, definitely find some people that you can trust and that you can talk to. Maybe it's a professional, maybe it's some friends. I don't know. Maybe it's a group. I don't know. It's hard to say this because everyone, like I've said it a couple times, everyone does deal different. Like my stepdad's traveled and traveled and traveled and traveled. I walked through it. He walked around it because that's where he was ready to go. For me to walk through it though, it took the support that I needed around me. And I tried to build that around me. And if I didn't feel the right energy, I walked away from it. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't know if
being able to draw that line, but what I'm hearing though is that it definitely requires having some sort of support system around you. You wouldn't 100%. Want to be alone.
No, you already feel alone when you're going through it. And I'm an only child, so I really felt alone. I really did. Like, and my stepdad didn't know how to deal with this at all. He's not a loving, he tries to be, but he doesn't, it's not his fault. It's just how he grew up, but he's learned how to be more supportive through this because my mom always did everything. But yeah, I had to find the right support and I didn't know what that was. So it was very, very lonely going through all of that, but it's okay because I kept telling myself like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. My faith has really honestly got me through it. I know it's not for everybody, but that was what got me through it.
That's
really
the firm foundation.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
How did you go about finding the support though? What was the first thing? Was it reaching out to a therapist? Was it?
I did. I reached out to a therapist. I had met her a couple years ago. She's really like an energy healer. She's both.
Okay.
But I had met her a few years ago. Someone had suggested, because sometimes people want you to get in touch with the dead when they leave. And I kept thinking, what am I going to do with this? I know my mom's okay. Like I knew, like I kept telling her in the end, it's okay to go. Like, I love you. I will make sure to take care of my stepdad. I will make sure that we're okay. You raised me strong enough and well enough that to be able to do this on my own.
Yeah. Makes me cry now.
How I not, I know.
You're like, I thought I was going to be the one to cry.
Had I not had the strength from her and the strength of how she raised me, I maybe wouldn't have been able to do it as much, but she raised me right in that way that I'm able to do this and be strong. So how did I find it? So I knew, anyways, I knew she was okay. And I didn't need to find somebody to.
Sorry, I'm making you cry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I knew she was okay. So I didn't need to find somebody to say, okay, they connect. Okay, what do I do with this? Okay, she's okay. Yeah. I know that, Yes. I already know that. I've not seen, I see some signs. Some people see signs. I see some signs that she's with me, but I honestly, it's that divine feeling that she is constantly with me and guides me. I don't know how to explain it, but so anyway, that I ended up meeting with somebody else, and I talked to her about it, and she said, let's just talk before we meet and see if this is going to be good for you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was finding a therapist for me and being able to talk it out, my whole life out. This isn't just like talk about one thing. It was like spit up everything,
Well, sometimes these things cause that, and for good and not for good reason, but there's a lot comes up when things like this happen. And so, it does change your whole life. And so that means your whole life's got to come out. Somebody's got to be there to listen so you can get through the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, some people want to run away, and I did. I told you, I wanted to go to Bali. I really wanted to just go and sit there where nobody knew me and just lay on the beach. But
sounds great, but also more lonely.
I know.
Even though the weather's nice.
Yes.
Even though the weather's nice.
So it was just finding, I was trying to pay attention to the signs around me and the things that were happening. And when her name's Heather, when she came across Instagram, I had been watching her for a couple years, and that came through. I was like, that speaks to me. So I was just listening for me with what was speaking to me. And most of the things that I signed up for or that I connected with at that time, I think almost everything, but like maybe two things, and I did a lot, were really, I kept telling myself, don't quit it. Like, is this really going to be good for me? I don't know. Right. The reason that I hated public speaking. And then I spoke at my mom's funeral. They kept saying, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, no. But I have to.
I remember you told me that.
I have to, because my mom, I'm her only kid. Like, she's got all academic.
It's my time. I'm definitely on deck for this.
All academic people in the audience.
That's a lot of pressure,
all
actually.
All are academic, except me. And I'm like, I didn't even finish college. So they're like, I said, all right, let me just get up and talk about her. She's an amazing woman. And it was like, but it was different for me because, I'm her daughter. So I said, I got to do this. So when I got up and did that, I thought, I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But it was my mom guiding me in doing it. That's how I feel. So then when I started, that's why I said, well, maybe I want to do this. And everyone for the last probably 10 years, a lot of people have said, you're missing the boat here. Like, you should talk about like your positivity and your motivational. And I love motivational stuff. I do. Yeah. I think you know that by now. But yeah, so then I said, all right, I signed up with her, and then I'm like, what am I doing? And then I thought, just go. It's only 20 people in this group, in this mastermind. And I said in the beginning of the year, I want to be in front of new people, new sphere of people. That definitely puts me in a whole new sphere of people.
Sure it does. Well, you took a lot of risk here. Actually, this is really incredible. A lot of times in situations like these, I feel like it has the opposite effect on people.
Some people just bury their head.
Yes, but you really did without even, you were doing it intentionally, but you really did what therapists and life coaches are always telling us, which is when you're in this situation, you need to channel this energy into a passion, rediscovering yourself, like put yourself out there. Don't seclude. Like, what is it that maybe would you want to take a Spanish class? Like, you want to take a speaking
golf.
class. That's what I mean. Do a thing. This is like any type of grief they're telling you. They're telling you to do these things. And it's actually so hard to usually do it. So I'm curious
how I did it.
Yes.
I don't know. It was just a mindset. I really I just try to be more intentional. I wanted change. I was so tired of this rat race of what I was living and how I was living. It wasn't getting me anywhere. And then, like I said, it took my mom, the shakeup of my mom dying and no longer here on Earth.
It did a little launch.
It went, okay, get your keister up. Let's
go.
Get
your booty off the floor, bombshell.
Yes. let's go. Let's try something different. So even with golf, like I had never done anything but putt-putt. So I was like, I'm going to take golf lessons. I don't even own clubs. So I started taking golf lessons and I've got 15 in and I'm like, I love it. Now I'm addicted to it. I'm not good, but I'm getting better. And why? Because I didn't quit. I didn't quit with the speaking stuff. I didn't quit with golf. I didn't quit. I just kept saying, nope, it's going to happen. Nope, you got to keep going. Nope, there's a reason that you signed up for this. I just kept telling myself, nope, there's a reason.
No, this is
happening for a reason.
Don't quit. There's a reason. Put yourself out there.
Yes.
Like you got to keep going.
Little teeny voice in my head was like, just there's
my mom
a reason.
Wants me to keep going.
There's a reason that you started this. It doesn't mean everything's going to work out. Maybe some of the things there's probably 2 things, like I said, that I signed up for and it didn't follow through, and that's okay.
Yeah, you followed through with the other things. You did a lot.
I have done.
You really did a lot. You really channeled those passions into a lot of things in the last year.
And I just am like, even with real estate, like that was something, because it was, as a salesperson, everyone asks you, how is real estate? How are your sales?
Yes, always. Mm-hmm.
And it's like every time when they're not going well, you're like, oh God, don't ask me that. So I would my answer to everyone last year, everyone. It's aligning the way it's supposed to align. Whether I had one thing, I was working with one person, 0 or 10 people. It didn't matter. Nobody knew and nobody needed to know, unless when I closed, even when I closed stuff, I just don't even talk about it as much anymore. So at all right now. But I'm still working, but it was amazing because it took the pressure.
Totally. I can see how that phrase would. It's aligning how it's supposed to align. It's going the way that it's supposed to.
Because then everyone's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, then what's the response to that?
And sometimes it was like, well, what does that mean? I would repeat it again. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay. Like, that's all you're going to get from me, because if I want to share more, I will. And then I also started, I just don't.
That's a good boundary, though.
Don't share things. Like, I don't talk about a lot of stuff that I used to. I'm an open book, but if you ask me, I will. But I keep more to myself. And when I want to share, I will share.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that probably keeps, I don't know if this is really appropriate to say, but keeps certain people from maybe being so invasive and involved in your life. Those that you don't necessarily want to know everything that you're doing.
There's people that think they know, because,
right.
I post a lot. Mm-hmm. I post a lot. So everyone thinks they know your life.
Yeah, people think they know mine too.
Yeah. But they don't.
So sometimes I just laugh inside.
Sometimes people do, but no, it's okay.
I've actually been posting a lot less now because of that. I kind of like it now. Now I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll do that when I want, very limitedly now. Mm-hmm.
No, it's good.
Yeah,
you test it, but that's how I've gotten through, and it's taken a lot. It is, and it's still a process. But I didn't give myself a choice.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Didn't give myself a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That was the choice, that I'm going to go do this.
Yes. And even when things come to me, I'm like, I just pay attention more now to what's being presented to me and in front of me. And there's a reason that it's got. I really believe that things happen for reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I remember having this conversation with my stepdad, and I said, he was, he's angry. He's been married to my mom for 40 years. And as rightfully so, his partner is going away, and going to a place that nobody really understands. But I said, I believe that things happen for reasons. And he said, you really believe that your mom was supposed to not be here? I go, 100%. I don't like it at all. But I do believe that, like, I believe in God. Now, I don't want to get into all of that too much, but I'm just saying, for me, I believe that the higher power he had a place for her, and more important, and needed her in another place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
We don't have to like it, but
not to have it. But I know that she's at peace. I know that she's okay, and she's happy, and she's doing all her thing up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I love the way that you talk about your mom. And that's why I was crying before when you said that, like, she raised me, that she taught me everything that I needed to know. Like, she taught me how to be this person. She's taught me to be strong. And so if this is her time, it's time for her to go now. Like, she's made me this human, and she did a great freaking job. And so, okay, Mom, Like, it's okay.
Yes. I mean, I'm grateful. Somebody else said too, like that was good advice. As I said, as hard as it is, there are people that lose their parents at a very young age, or they lose their child at a young age. I mean, my mom was 75. She's still young, but I had her for 54 years.
Yeah.
And some people don't have that at all. So I'm very grateful for that. And that too, like speaking of grateful, I'm much more grateful about different things that I didn't realize that I had in my life before. Much more. I just grateful for what I've surrounded myself with. I'm grateful for as simple as like for work even, or for personal, like whatever it is that is I'm blessed with, and they is in front of me, or the people, or for work, or for whatever it is. I'm just much more grateful for it. It's not like I'm not greedy with it. Like, no, I want more. No, yeah. I'm really okay with this. If this is what it is, this is what I get. I'm not pushing you for more.
Yeah.
I think I just got tired too.
Yeah. You articulate it so well, and you say it so beautifully. And you talk about energy. You talked about energy a couple times in this episode, and it's been a while since I've seen you and since we've hung out. And normally it's under very different circumstances than like lights and recording a podcast episode. But I can feel that from you. Mm-hmm. Like you do have, even though you've been going through this time period and you've been going through this grief wave, mm-hmm. you can feel, and even in the words that you say and the way you articulate it and how you articulate this story, because we've had lots of guests on the episode and we've talked about lots of traumatic things, but you're very regulated and calm, and the way that you see the situation is like just how you were saying, turning a negative into a positive, and seeing the silver lining in this, and what is this actually supposed to have taught me now, so that way I can get through this and get to this next chapter of my life. Like, what is the purpose here? And how do I help other people as well? Because a lot of things that you said, I think from what I've heard with people that are going through something like this, it's really difficult to get to the place that you are, even when you're in it, to be able to get off of your couch and go do something else, to be able to even contact that therapist, to just like be the doer, to pick yourself up and actually make the move. It says a lot about you. And so,
thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to add that we didn't touch on specifically?
I'm sure there's plenty more. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I just like to ask it just in case there's like I don't know, some sort of highlight or something that you wrote down when you're prepping. I don't know, some sort of.
Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
What happened to me?
No worries. No worries.
Like, it's a process for everybody, and everybody really, you just, I mean, there's no right or wrong. Mm-hmm. It really isn't. And I think that, like, my mom used to tell me that all the time, and this has stuck with me for years. People get mad because, and this isn't just for grief, but I'm just saying, like, people get mad because you haven't text back right away, or text back at all, or they haven't answered, or, they're not giving the attention that you want. And I really carry this through, not just this, but I mean, through my whole life, really. I mean, she said it to me probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and it stuck with me so much, is that, and I think we all get caught up on ourselves, and it happens definitely with grief. And you're like, why, you're hoping and you're wanting, certain people or certain things to happen. And you realize everyone else is going through something too.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And to try to understand. So I always try to really look at it and understand what another person is going through. Mm-hmm. I try to, and I have to pull myself back and go, okay, because you can be mad in the moment and you think, okay, what's going on? Like this can apply to anything in life.
1,000%.
Yeah. Like, we all get short with each other. We all get distant. There's one person thinks you understand one thing and then they don't understand it because nobody's talked about it. So It's just a matter of trying to figure out, are you like, what is going on the other side. That's something my mom's always taught me, is to really try to understand that other people are going through stuff and it's not necessarily about you, and that you try to understand. It's something I carry from my mom and will always, is to try to understand. And
I feel like I needed to hear that because, it's really difficult in many situations to not take things personally, no matter what it is.
Takes away the anger of it if you try to say that, because many times everyone's like, well, why didn't they call me back, or why didn't they text me? That doesn't, whether it's like for work or for dating or for whatever it may be, well, you don't know what's going on the other side.
Well, and this is a very good example of that. Like, I mean, I talked to a client yesterday on the phone, and she was so upset. She was not upset with me, but she couldn't, we were talking about something and she couldn't like answer the questions. And then finally she was just like, I'm really sorry. My best friend passed away yesterday, and I just like, I can't think about this right now. Yeah. So I know it's like really easy, but can you just tell me like what to do? Cause I can't think about it.
Sometimes it's just paying attention to they're out of context with you, especially if it's somebody that you really know. It's like, this is out of context. They are angry at something or acting out or whatever it may be, right? And then you think, okay, there's got to be more to this. Yeah, I do this with clients, like I'm or other agents. I'm like, did something happen today? Right. And like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. It's, it's just calling it out, and people don't realize it. But yeah.
Well, it's such a common thing that happens on a day-to-day basis, but in our own mind, like we're thinking about, okay, well, this is the thing that I need to do. I need to get done, or I need to have this text message returned. And really it's like, well, on the other side of it, like there's some sort of reason why the response is not what it usually is, or why this person can't show up in the way that you quote unquote are used to or expecting them or wanting them to, right?
Because they are not you.
They are not you. Yeah. And that goes back to how you started at the beginning, which is, everybody processes differently. Like everybody is different. Everyone's going to get through this differently.
But you will get through it.
I love that. You will get through it.
You will. And you'll never, your pain gets less, but you'll never stop thinking about them. You really don't. It's something, the pain is still always there, but it's not as harsh on I guess on your heart as it was obviously in the beginning. You're just trying to process through it. Like, how do I get through it? And I can tell you, like, when it happened, I'm thinking, how am I going to live my life without my mom? Like, that's the person that I would call all the time, text, like anytime that I had an issue. She knew how to unscramble my head. Not very many people know how to do it. Only a couple people in my life have been able to do it. And she definitely is one of them. Like, understanding how to restructure my head and restructure my thoughts. And I don't have that anymore. So it's so weird. It's just weird. You go to call them and you're like, shoot, I guess that's not happening. So I'm like, okay, Mom, how do I do this? Yeah. And like look for some sign of how she can guide me. And it usually happens. It's just you're paying attention to what's going on. Yeah. And so those signs are there. But you definitely, sometimes when you're not paying attention, the signs might not be there.
Sure. Yeah, you've said that a couple of times, that you've been paying attention. Yeah, paying attention. Yeah. Well, Kristen, how do we find you? What's the best way for someone to be able to reach out to you if they have questions about anything you talked about in the show, or if they're going through something and they've been inspired by our conversation? How do they find you?
Probably the best way is through Instagram. It's Kristen AZ Real Estate.
Perfect. We'll put a little link.
Yeah. Or you can get me through LinkedIn. Okay.
Or even it's just Kristen Petronio on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Or Facebook, same thing.
Okay. So we will put a link to both of those in the bottom of the episode. But I wanted to thank you for, we've rescheduled this a couple of times because of me, because of clients, and now here we are today. So I wanted to thank you for coming down and talking about this on the show. A lot of what you said is really, there's a lot of strength behind it. And it's just really raw and also really, really beautiful. And the way you talk about your mom is
well,
really beautiful.
And it goes
too.
through everybody. And like I said, grief goes, this isn't just about losing a death, and it's how you get through it. And you definitely need to reach out to somebody.
Yeah. And you can reach out to Kristen.
Yes, you can.
Or me. Thank you, everybody, for
listening
to
me.
the episode. That's You're It Girl.